Going over IRS Form 4029, application for exemption from Social Security and Medicare taxes and waiver of benefits. There are a couple of notes before we go through this tax form. First, approval of this form only exempts the taxpayer from Social Security and Medicare tax. This does not provide an exemption to federal income tax. Second, members of religious orders, ministers, Christian Science practitioners should file IRS Form 4361, application for exemption from self-employment tax for use by ministers, members of religious orders, and Christian Science practitioners. Before we go into this tax form, we're going to take a look at some of the instructions so that you can understand what conditions you would be filing this form for. So the IRS instructions indicate that you might apply for this exemption if you're a member of and you follow the teachings of a recognized religious group. So a recognized religious group must meet the following requirements. A, conscientiously opposed to accepting benefits of any private or public insurance that makes payments in the event of death, disability, old age, or retirement. Any public or private insurance that makes payments for the cost of medical care, or any insurance that provides services for medical care, to include Social Security and Medicare benefits. 2, has provided a reasonable level of living for its dependent members. And finally, must have continuously existed since December 31st, 1950. There are further instructions on when to file, certifications, things of that nature. We will go over this tax form in depth. It's one page, and then we'll circle back to some commonly asked questions. There are two parts to this tax form. Part 1 is the part that you as the applicant will complete. You'll enter your name, address, and city, town, state, and zip code, Social Security number, date of birth, and a contact phone number. In box 5, you can indicate whether or not you want your Social Security statement. And below line 5, you will write in a certification that you are and continuously have been a member of a certain religious group, district, or congregation since an appropriate date. And you're making certifications that you are conscientiously opposed to accepting the benefits of private or public insurance that acts like Social Security or Medicare. You're requesting an exemption from the employee's share of Social Security and Medicare taxes under the Internal Revenue Code, Section 3101. And you're waiving all rights to Social Security payments or benefits under the Social Security Act. You will notify the Internal Revenue Service within 60 days of any occurrence where you are no longer a member of that religious group. And if you are no longer exempt under the Internal Revenue Code, then this waiver will no longer apply to either yourself, any employees that you may have, your self-employment income for and after the first tax year in which this exemption ends, and your wages for and after the calendar quarter following the calendar quarter in which the exemption no longer meets the Internal Revenue Code requirements. You're signing this under the penalty of perjury, that this is information complete and to the best of your knowledge, and it's true and correct. In part 2, this section is to be completed by an authorized representative of your religious group. And that person will simply enter your name, state that you're a member of the religious group or congregation being mentioned, and then that person will print or type their name followed by their address, and then they will sign below with their title and the date. Below that, the Social Security Administration will certify whether or not the religious group is or is not recognized as being in existence continuously since December 31st, 1950, providing a reasonable level of living for its dependents, and being consciously opposed to public or private insurance. After this certification, it will then be reviewed and either approved or disapproved by the Internal Revenue Service. So there are a couple of questions. What do employers do when they receive this form? Any employees without approval in this form, employers must withhold the employee's share of Social Security and Medicare taxes. They must also pay the employer's share. Reporting exempt wages. If you're a qualifying employer with one or more qualifying employees, you're not required to report wages that are exempt under Internal Revenue Code Section 3127. You do not include those wages for Social Security or Medicare tax purposes on your quarterly federal tax return or your annual tax return. And if you have received an approved Form 4029, check the box on line 4 of your quarterly tax return and write Form 4029 in the empty space below the check box. If you file Form 943, which is an employer's annual tax return for agricultural employees, and you have received an approved Form 4029, you will write Form 4029 to the left of the wage entry spaces for total wages subject to Social Security and total wages subject to Medicare. People who need to file Form 4029 will file this form when they want to apply for exemption from Social Security and Medicare taxes. It is a one-time election, and you should keep an approved copy for your permanent records. The form instructions also contain mailing instructions for this form. If you do not have a Social Security number, there are additional instructions. Namely, you will apply for a Social Security card through your local Social Security office by filing Form SS5. That completes this video. If you'd like to review an article, we have written a walkthrough step-by-step article on Form 4029. Simply go to our website, teachmepersonalfinance.com, type in IRS Form 4029 in the search bar, and this article should appear. If you like this video, please feel free to subscribe. If you have any questions, please post them in the comment section. And as always, feel free to subscribe to either the videos or to our website to continue receiving this content. Thank you very much.